I'm right here in Andersonville, Georgia, the very place for the largest Confederate prison camp of the Civil War. In this very place, there were right here more than 45,000 prisoners of war. This very place that we can see right here on these plains, this was designed only to bring here no more than 15,000 soldiers. However, the history registers that 1/3 of them die. What is the cause for them to die right here? Because they were overcrowded. Its capacity was only for 12,000, and they brought here more than 45,000. And they had insufficient, inadequate water, inadequate food, inadequate sanitary facilities. Every single soldier, as we can see right here in these she bags, every single one had to provide their own shelter. However, this place was not enough. It seems large and big, but as we can see right here, it was not enough. We are now standing here on sacred grounds. These grounds, many of them that died. They died because they had the conviction. They fought because they wanted to bring freedom to others. Others, obviously, they didn't want to provide freedom. As we review the American history, we realize that this fight between the Northern and the Southern, this was the conflict that really brought this issue. And this matter was the moral concept of slavery. As we read in history, the Civil War that happened between the United States of America and the Confederated States of America between 1861 and 1865. This war, the common explanation was over the moral issue of slavery, specifically the economic impact and also the political control on this slavery system. However, one of the things that we realized that in this war, more than 620,000 soldiers died. Historians, they have recorded that along all the wars in the United States of this country, 1.3 million people, they have died. So now we realize that almost about 50% of those who have lost their lives in wars in the history of this country happened at the Civil War. How? Why? These are questions that many times we have. Let's explore a little bit more about it. Ellen G. White, in her first vision in January of 1861, she saw the cannons and also the war and the carnage that will be happening in the months ahead. And this was a kind of description how bad this war is going to be. And she was providing counsel for those who were feeling in favor of the war, that this was going to be very devastating for many families. Actually, that evening when she was mentioning this at the Parkville Seventh-day Adventist Church, one of the members was right there, and she was pretty much nodding and with her body language discrediting what she was saying. 1 year later, Ellen G. White came back again to that very church, and that man approached her saying how she was really a messenger of the Lord, because at that time when he heard her saying what will happen, and that some of the sons of those who were present at that meeting, they will be dying on the field. And he said to her, "My boy, also he died as you described it." In this way, this man confirmed that the visions that Ellen G. White received were coming from the Lord, assuring that this nation was in God's hands. Ellen G. White, after receiving these 4 visions, the last 2 were one in 1962 in January in Battle Creek, Michigan, and the second one in November of the same year, where she saw that this sin of slavery, God was going to punish the northern and the southern for participating in this human abuse. Ellen G. White, while providing this theological commentary of the war, was assuring the Seventh-day Adventists at that time that they were going to provide a message of hope for those who were losing their sons in the war, and also helping others to really move on in life, especially as they were awaiting for the second coming of Jesus Christ. It was during this time in 1863, May of 1863, that the church became organized and became the General Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and this was organized in the state of Michigan. This was the official birth of the Seventh-day Adventist Church during the Civil War. Ellen G. White, again, was an instrument from God to provide confidence and to assure not just these believers on the second coming of Jesus Christ, but also to others that this nation will continue moving on as a nation under the hands of God. Is this in this very place where we can find that many of those soldiers, they stay here. Many of them, they died here. Others, after the war was over, this is when they were released. We can see right here in this place monuments from different states, from Rhode Island, from Massachusetts, and other states. Again, this is something for us not to forget. Last month, February, we commemorated Black history in this country. This was a reminder not to celebrate the abuse and the atrocities that happened at that time. It was for us not to forget the pain, the suffering, the endurance, and the cry of the Black people who were abused at that time. Our African American brothers and sisters, as we move through the fields of these southern states, we can see how they suffer. Now we have not to forget. As we are living in these times now, in the 21st century, in 2021, now we have been facing for the last months, even for the last years, some situations, political situations that we have been facing as a nation. And some individuals, they have been leaning on one side, others are leaning on the other side. I just want to conclude saying this, that God has intervened. He has not been moving pieces here and there, but He, at the same time, He allows us to make our own decisions and live with the decisions that we make. How can we face the future? Ellen G. White said that we should not forget how the Lord has guided us in the past in order to continue in the future. May the Lord help us to move on as we continue our lives. Remembering that this nation is in God's hands. I want at the same time allow God to guide my life, and that my life can be in His hands. What about you? I invite you to turn your eyes upon Jesus, and He can continue guiding your life. May the Lord bless us all.